And now it's time for our review of Shazam, the latest effort out of the DCEU. And thus far, the quality of the DCEU's films could be summarized by the following. And as that was audio art to represent the chronological order in which these films were released, yes, that extra long one was for Suicide Squad. It was quite a stinker, pun intended. But to be fair, as most people disagree with you and I on Man of Steel, for the average, I would say, movie-going public, it went a little more like this. So what did you think overall of this movie?
I would say that it is, in fact, more of a... as opposed to a... And the reason that we got to see this so early is through Fandango. They were hosting a partnership with DC/Warner Brothers where there was gonna be a screening on one night on a Saturday. I don't know how familiar you are with Shazam, but I know I'm not super familiar. I've read issues of comics where he's shown up. I've seen the Superman Shazam animated movie, but I wasn't super well versed in any of the Billy Batson mythos, if you will.
Right. Yeah, see, I knew the basics. He's Shazam. You say the word and he shows up. I'm actually a way bigger fan of the character of Black Adam.
Yeah, that's another interesting one.
Yeah, but I guess we'll get to that later. So, again, I had relatively middle expectations, I guess.
I was looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I thought the trailers looked really fun and really interesting.
No, but I'm just saying in terms of
the project.
Yeah, or just in general, because I just didn't... Yeah, I'm about on the same page as you.
Right.
So, I guess we'll just start with some non-spoilers. So, the movie itself... The plot is, for the most part, relatively straightforward, although there is one caveat with that. And I guess that's Dr. Savannah's goals and plans weren't exactly clear. Did you kind of get that vibe? Because it felt like I know a lot of people have said this, and I'd be hard-pressed to disagree with this. It did feel kind of like two movies.
Yeah.
Because there's the main story, which is, of course, about Billy Batson and how he's at the foster home and how his friendship develops with Freddy. And then there's also Dr. Savannah, and at times it kind of felt like that plot was sort of playing second fiddle.
Yeah, I would say overall, while I actually very much so appreciated the tone of this movie, there are certain plot elements, particularly with Dr. Savannah, played by Mark Strong in this, that make the movie feel a little bit different, a little darker.
Right.
Particularly... Again, without spoiling anything, the first scene of this is very different from the movie that we end up getting.
Yeah. Okay. I can't even explain because there's a very quick comparison I'd make to a not good superhero movie. I think you know what I'm talking about. We'll get to that in spoilers later. But the overall idea of a superhero movie plus big worked out pretty well.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what was kind of cool about this, where Deadpool is kind of waving at the camera. This is acknowledging the superhero world, but within the parameters of a universe that has other superheroes.
Yeah, it's looking in the direction of the camera, but past the camera. You know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying. And that's what I thought was cool, is it's like, this is an outsider's perspective. In this case, Billy Batson, who's a young kid who lives in a foster home, his perspective of what it's like to be a superhero.
Right. And at this point, we've seen a lot of different kinds of superhero anythings. We've seen Ant-Man, a story about a guy that can get small. He's an ex-con.
Yeah.
We've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, talking raccoons and trees. We've seen Aquaman, Lord of Atlantis. We've seen a lot of different stuff. So now it's all about, well, what else can you show me? What else can you give me that's new? And I feel like Shazam was that, for me, it was that kind of perfect blend of being new, being entertaining, and also being meaningful. I was shocked. I was shocked at how big of a heart this movie had. And
I was gonna say that was another thing that stood out, was the foster parents and the family.
Yeah,
I like that angle. And, I mean, it took a little while for me to warm up to some of the things. Some of the characters are a little annoying at first, but then you realize, that's like a family.
I want to give a big shout out to, for me, in my case, Faith Herman. She played, what's her name? Darla.
Yeah.
The little sister.
She was really good.
What a sweetheart. God damn it. Just great. I mean, as far as kids her age acting go, like she did a great job.
Well, that's the thing is I thought the acting was all around really solid out of pretty much the entire family.
Yeah. Yeah, Jack Dylan Grazer was great.
Yeah, I mean,
really funny.
That I expected because of his performance in It. The parents were also really solid.
Parents are really good.
Well, it just like it felt, like it felt realistic,
Yeah, it felt, and I think that's where we get into some of the issues, like you said, where it's two movies.
Yeah.
Where there are elements of it that feel supremely realistic. That family dynamic, the world.
Or I don't know if it's like realistic, but it felt more grounded.
Yeah.
Let's just say for the sake of simplicity.
But the Dr. Sivana stuff felt very much like a comic book movie.
Yeah.
It felt, not that the other stuff didn't, but it felt way much more so. Sort of like something you'd see from like the early 2000s,
I would say, though, also the foster home angle, that does cause it to start a little slowly, though.
I will give you that.
That's, again, part of the two movie thing, is because you're kind of like, it's like I always say when I'm watching a movie, there's that, when's he gonna turn into the fucking Hulk? Or like, when is Chucky gonna fucking kill someone? You're like waiting for the big reveal, and that was kind of like, when's he gonna be a superhero? That's
I compare this a great deal to Wonder Woman for me.
Yeah.
Because the first 20 minutes of this and Wonder Woman, I found to be nowhere near indicative of the movie you end up getting for the last hour and 10 or so minutes.
I would say that's more so the case here.
Yes,
Wonder Woman didn't bother me.
No,
because they're on the Amazon island and stuff, so it's a little different.
It's interesting enough, but the movie, there's definitely a point, like a half hour in, where you go,
okay,
oh, okay, this is the movie I signed up for.
Right. So another thing I want to talk about. So I thought the acting was good. I thought the comedy was mostly hit. But there's a little bit of it that was like, oof, swing and a miss.
I don't know.
A little bit.
Our theater was fucking, like, I couldn't even hear certain lines.
Oh,
like,
people
it
were
was
howling.
Fucking loud. Like, they were howling. And I was a part of it. Like, it's not 100% like comedy, doesn't miss. It does miss from time to time. But
overall, it's more hits than misses.
I would go as far as to say this is the funniest comic book movie I've seen since Thor Ragnarok. Which might not be saying a whole lot, but it's really funny. And there's some sequences.
Well, that's what I mean. There's like superhero movies, they're not usually like the lines that are funnier, even if they're pretty funny. It's like, it's not like a typical comedy.
No, but what I was so taken with is like, there's a lot of good lines in this. But more so, there's a lot of great sight gags and just great concept things.
And we'll get to that in spoilers.
Yeah, and without spoiling anything, like a lot of the fun and games of Billy Batson and Freddie Freeman, played by Jack Dylan Grazer, like playing with the fact that, Billy's now an adult, that fun and games element was fucking funny as hell. And there's some parts where it was like joke.
I thought,
like, Jesus Christ, this is going.
I honestly thought that was the best part of the movie.
I agree.
Which is weird to say because normally I'm usually not one of those people who's like, it's a different type of superhero movie. I'm usually the one standing in the corner like, yeah, shut the fuck up. When are they going to punch each other?
Right.
And that brings me to actually my biggest problem with this movie. The action scenes kind of suck. If I'm being honest, it's that they lack specificity. Like, it doesn't seem like they're storyboarded with as much care as like a Winter Soldier fight scene.
Oh yeah,
or like even heaven forbid I say it, like Man of Steel's fights, which I thought were phenomenal.
Yeah, I'd say it's interesting because I think there's one fight in this set piece, I'll call it more like, that I actually really liked, and I won't spoil it, but it's a fight scene between Shazam and somebody, and it's towards the middle of the movie, and I thought it was really funny and fun and interesting, and it was at least. There was something, it took place in an interesting setting, but I will agree with you in that there kind of isn't a whole lot of action in this at all. And the appeal of this movie, I would say more so, for me, it came from more of a narrative and character-based place.
Right. I mean, I understand that, but at the same time, I almost felt like, let's not forget what this is, guys. And to me, it just, the action and the way it played out, because it was so generic. They even illustrate how generic it is at one point, and I'll get to that in spoilers, like in a comedic way. There just wasn't any specific moment like, oh yeah, remember that part when like so and so punched so and so through what? Like, here's a good example: is like Die Hard. Remember that part where he stepped on all the glass with his the broken glass with his bare feet? Mm-hmm. Because they thought, yeah, we could show a guy running, jumping, and shooting, but let's show him running, jumping, and shooting when his feet are bleeding.
Right,
because now it's even harder. The shitstorm that he has to deal with is even worse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Or like The Night Becomes Us, which is a terrible movie, but awesome fight scenes. Like, the fight scenes were like, let's just basically go through the encyclopedia of every strike and like joint lock that you could imagine.
Right.
This just felt like punch, punch, not even a big impact of smash. Mm-hmm. Just like, ooh, we're tussling. Felt like one of those PG movie fights. Mm-hmm. Like the fights, honestly, and there's one in particular that I couldn't help but think of Elf.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that.
But
in a second.
I think it'll come down to a matter of preference. Like if you really are going into this expecting a superhero like action movie, you're probably going to be disappointed because I would say most of the entertainment in this comes out of comedy. Like it comes out of the fun and games elements. Seeing this, it comes out of more of the origin story elements, not necessarily like the fighting. But
my thing was, if you're going to bother to do that, don't like half-ass it and that's almost like a shame. That's almost a shame to me because I thought the comedy stuff and the family element, and, the heart of the film or whatever, that was all handled really well. Mm-hmm. Because that was one thing I was worried about when I saw the early reviews. It has lots of heart. I'm like, great. Mm-hmm. I was hoping it wasn't something like heavy-handed, but they handled it well.
Yeah, and it was something that was different. And I guess that's true. And I think that's what I mean where it comes down to a matter of preference. Because I would have I guess with this kind of movie, because I guess I'd never realized what I was going in this for. Is I didn't even really know the Shazam story. So
you didn't know about the wizard or anything?
Well, I mean, I knew that, but like I wanted to see that story on screen more so than I wanted to see him beat ass. And I'm all that's not saying I never want to see him beat ass. It's just I want to see I'm not going to hold the sequel to that same standard. It's like, all right, guys, we've already done this whole character development thing. We can get a couple of fight scenes in here. You know what I mean with the sequel. So. For this, I was more so looking more towards, I want to see this story told well. I would rather have them half-ass the action than the story. You know what I mean?
No, and that's why I'm saying overall it worked.
Yeah, and it again, preferentially speaking, I wasn't so bothered by it. But you are right. It's not, as far as the DCEU goes.
No, I know. I'm just an action fiend.
No, and I agree though. Like if we're putting this up against Aquaman, it's like, come on.
Well, see, that's
There's a scene where like a giant turtle fights a crab and shit.
That's what I mean. But at the same time, there you go. That one had opposite problems. Like some of the story was shitty. Like the love story was horrible or whatever. Mm-hmm. So overall, I thought this was a pretty solid movie. And you know what? There's one thing I'll give it huge props for. This might have been because I didn't see the second trailer. They actually bothered to surprise you with something.
Yeah, specifically with jokes and certain plot reveals. Like there's a joke that we won't spoil, but there's a joke in the trailer. In a minute, but there's a joke in the trailer that they add a flourish to it in the movie that they don't show in the trailer. I'm like, oh, you didn't show the whole joke in the fucking trailer.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Exactly.
But
all right.
I'd also like to give a special shout out to, I would say, the MVP of this movie.
Oh, Zachary Levi.
Zachary Levi, yeah.
He fucking killed it. He was so good.
He was fucking unbelievably good, and I was shocked because I already knew, like, okay.
I 100% bought it, like the fact, because that's something oftentimes, like on like science fiction shows that are kind of quirky when people trade places, you're pretty aware that it's just the actor doing an impression. And in this case,
the timing. The cadence of the way he talks, it's like he sounds like a kid. And he's having such a fun time, and he is every bit of why this movie's watchable. Like that. Exactly. That's the moment for me. Like as soon as he shows up, like that's like Diana showing up in London. I was like, here we fucking go.
Right.
So that is what made this for me.
Yeah, he was really fantastic. Let's give a shout out Jaimin Hansu.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's not really in this movie that much. And
no.
I kind of was. I mean, I didn't expect him to have a huge role, but it's like, man, well, wish there's a little more of him.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that in spoilers, but he kills it as usual.
Yeah, he's good. As much as I have problems with the tonal sort of collapse between these two elements, I like Mark Strong. Like, he was having fun.
Yeah, I mean, he was fine. It's just...
It's like better than Steppenwolf. I even thought he was
beats
like
the shit out of Steppenwolf.
He even had a couple of moments where I'm like, oh shit, Mark Strong. You're doing this? Okay. It was fun.
Yeah.
It's good to see him pal around.
So overall, we thought it was pretty solid. Now, do you want to move on to spoilers?
Let's do it. Let's break the seal.
All right, here we go. So, the main, I guess, thing, or I guess the main element of the story that wasn't really teased all that much, but of course, if maybe you've read the comics or whatever, you knew. The Marvel family.
Or if you saw the toys.
Sorry, not the Marvel. Whatever, the Shazam lead.
Yeah, there you go.
The Shazam family.
Got some Mary Marvel. We got all of them.
Yeah, we got all of them.
I guess that follows in the footsteps of the New 52 version.
Right.
Too.
So now there's like 6 of them or whatever. So all the foster kids turn into adult versions of themselves as these superheroes.
Yeah.
The one I thought was weird is the one actress, I can't remember her name. She plays Mary.
Oh, yeah,
She's already like 25.
Yeah, so it's just like she was like pretty like old as is, so they just aged her up a little bit. But I will say it looked kind of like an older version of the actress. Like
that's why I was getting confused. I'm like, is that her again? That's what I thought. I'm like, isn't that just her again? I don't know.
It was a different thing. I was like, oh, no,
I mean, like they both look like like 25-ish.
Yeah, it was crazy. Megan Good is the older version of Darla.
I was gonna say out of the older versions, that was probably the standout.
Ah, man, that cracked me up.
Well, because that's just so funny too. Like, because she was, I think it's easier to pretend to be 14 than it is to be like whatever. How old Darla is? Like 8, 9.
Yeah, maybe even younger, like 6 or 7. Yeah. But like, I really enjoyed that element because it added a new dynamic to the ending scene, which I thought, by and large, it was, like you said, it was like a little too by the numbers.
Well, see, here's where I kind of fucking dismantle my compliment. That was also, it was cool, but then it was immediately shitty right after because it was a cool touch to do that and to really genuinely surprise you. And I saw the toys too. I'm like, fuck. But it doesn't matter. There was a chance that if you just saw the first trailer, you wouldn't have any fucking clue about this.
Yeah, could you imagine?
I still wasn't even sure that. I'm like, maybe it'll be a post credits. The point was they genuinely delivered something interesting.
Yeah.
However, the fight scene or whatever. No, see that's when you get into your PG style tussle. Although I could say you could argue that about the toy store fight a little bit too.
See, that was the fight I liked.
Yeah.
I'm like, fun. All right, this setting is funny,
Right, a toy store.
It's a one-sided fight.
That's what I'm saying.
But I like the idea of it.
Right, but and there was more dynamically interesting happening and interacting with that environment. Right. This was just like, oh, you could have just green screened anything, and we're just gonna lock arms and tussle. But there's nothing going on in the fight, like choreography that looked interesting, and they didn't use the environment. Like, hit someone with the fucking Ferris wheel or something. Like, well, I don't know. Use the environment.
Right. It's interesting because it harkened back. This movie, in my opinion, harkened back to a lot of the classical like superhero films, like the Richard Donner Superman films, because a lot of the action of this was people getting saved by Shazam and the Shazamily. It wasn't a lot of punching or beating up. It was, oh shit, here this Ferris wheel's falling over. Oh shit, this bus is gonna fall.
Oh, the classic like Superman.
Yeah, there's a lot of saving people. I'd say the ratio of people getting saved action scenes versus people getting their ass beaten, it's like halvesies almost.
No, which is fine, and that's actually one of my favorite sight gags in the whole movie. I'm like, this is good. This is. Yes, let's do something different for a laugh or for whatever, for spectacle.
Which one?
When he accidentally electrocutes the bus wheel.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's trying to put the bus down.
Yeah,
and the dog just won't
there.
move. Yeah, the dog just won't move. That shit was hilarious. And I said, this is funny. This is like something that hasn't been done 100 times. This is something unique.
Speaking
of
funny bits, the bit I was talking about that wasn't spoiled in the trailers was the part where they're at the convenience store and they give the gun back to the fucking...
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
Exactly.
Like, that's funny.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you for not spoiling that in the trailer. Right. That's so funny.
That's what I'm saying. Do something different. And there was none of that in the action scenes. It was all just... There's a point where the kid is watching Dr. Savannah and Shazam fighting, and he's like smashing his action figures together. I felt like that seems like about the thought that went into the action sequences.
Mm-hmm. It kind of felt like a rehash of the Zod, but not as good. Yeah.
What pisses me off is it almost felt like, remember, people complained about destruction. You mean what would happen if these fucking nuclear rocket style people were launching at each other?
Right.
See, that's shit would get blown
up and beaten up. That's why I like the scene where it was that, but they were fighting in the mall, they were just punching through. It reminded me a little bit of the Aquaman scene where the guy was busting through all those walls for no reason.
Yeah.
And we're following from the back. I'm like, all right, we're at least changing setting every 5 minutes, and he's throwing fucking toys at him and shit. That's funny.
That's what I'm saying. Use your environment, do something unique with it.
Right.
I mean, the fact that you have superheroes throwing each other around should only make it more spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about what Jackie Chan does with movies that are just regular people. You give Jackie Chan a fucking aluminum ladder and a rake,
mm-hmm.
and he's like, oh, got 1,000 ideas for a fight scene.
Yeah.
This, you have, not Jackie Chan at your helm, but you've got superheroes
mm-hmm.
who have crazy abilities. Do something a little more exciting than, ooh, we're just going to charge at each other and punch a couple times.
Yeah, I agree. I think the action does take a bit of a back seat for most of the movie.
Right, and the other action part that I thought sucked, the Seven Sins, man, they were just whatever. They're so generic.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I heard a lot of bitching about it, and I was like, I don't know.
Just what? Okay.
It was. I feel the way I feel about the Chitauri with them. It's okay, fine.
No,
whatever.
But I mean, yeah, I guess the Chitauri is kind of a fair comparison, except there's 1,000 Chitauri. There's seven of them.
I was more focused on Savannah than I was the seven deadly sins or whatever.
But I thought that was the absolute worst fight scene, was anything involving not Shazam,
mm-hmm.
The other super Captain Marvel. Jesus Christ. Sorry.
Mary Marvel
and all of them, mm-hmm. whatever their names are. It's just so confusing because he's also Captain Marvel, but he's not Marvel's Captain Marvel. Jesus Christ, what a mouthful. Stuck in Abacus.
Jaimin Hansu in 2 technically Captain Marvel movies.
Right. No, but okay, whatever. The Shazamly. That's what I'm just going to call him now.
The Shazamly.
The Shazamly fighting the Seven Sins, none of that was cool. And you know what I realized? That partially might have been a story thing. Mm-hmm. Darla and what's his name? Pedro.
Yeah.
They don't know how to throw punches and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Billy is a street toughian or whatever, so he knows. But
stole a cop car at the beginning of the movie.
It's still couldn't you just figure it out? Mm-hmm. Hulk doesn't throw graceful punches. He's kind of he just chucks knucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He just likes to throw hands.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just thought the 7 deadly sins, particularly, they weren't doing a lot for me. I mean, they were serviceable, but I'm saying the only reason I point out that I felt like they're kind of weak sauce is
in relation to the fight scenes.
In relation to what we'd already gotten, it's okay, I thought, oh shit, we're gonna get 7 Shazams. Now shit's gonna go down, and it just barely does.
Mm-hmm. I much more appreciated the Savannah stuff, even though I did feel as though it was from a different movie. Going back to that beginning scene, it's such a weird scene, but
Doesn't it remind you a little bit of Jamie Foxx in Amazing Spider-Man 2? A little bit.
How so?
Well, you're a little sympathetic with him.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
He's fucking 5. He doesn't know not to reach for the thing that's, the thing that's, tempting him.
Yeah. I liked the Savannah stuff. I thought it felt like a bit from a different movie, but I liked it. I thought Mark Strong was having fun. The first scene is so weird because the movie we get after it is so vastly different from what's proposed. Imagine reading that first scene as a script.
Yeah.
That'd be holy fuck, this is good. But it kind of just doesn't work. There are parts of it that do, but some of the child acting is suspect, and some of the lines are am I supposed to laugh at this?
Yeah. I think part of the problem with that is you're kind of expecting this movie about fantasy and these wizards and what's their deal? Where'd they come from? Mm-hmm. Who's Jaimin Hansu? Why why does he need to do any of this? And that's kind of what gets narratively lost behind the superhero meets big element.
Right.
Is that, and that's what I meant earlier when I was saying it feels like Dr. Sivana, his whole thing is like they're kind of playing second fiddle as a plot. You don't really understand his goals. He needs to kill this champion. To what end?
Yeah,
Like, oh, I need to take over the world. Like, he doesn't really say that or anything.
I definitely got where he was coming from. Like,
No,
I like the
yeah.
stuff where he's saying, like, you basically didn't believe in me. Like, what do you
Yeah.
think that does to a kid? And I'm like, interesting.
But that's like another thing that scene, you know, they kind of allude to it a little bit, but the whole idea of the temptation versus doing the right thing. Like, you know how when Shazam summons him, like, grab the staff. Or you can take this thing that makes you an evil dick.
Yeah.
And releases the 7 deadly sins. So, like, they kind of do that in, like, a different way, and that's Billy learning to not be selfish.
Yeah, he gives up his powers.
Right.
Divvies them out.
But, I mean, at the same time, I just feel like that wizard stuff felt secondary.
Yeah, I agree with you in that it's not all of it totally flows together.
Right, now I remember what I was going to say. Also, that cave thing, that cave place, I thought they should have had a final fight there. Or at least part of it. Because there's a moment in it where it's just Goonies for about a minute.
It feels like it. Like, how do we get out of here, guys?
Yeah, for a minute and a half. But then, that's it. We're done.
Yeah, now we're at the
I thought
carnival.
they were going to do all sorts of more crazy shit while they were down there. And they go back to the carnival, which is a decent scene to have a fight scene at. I thought it was like a kind of cool looking place, but they didn't really end up utilizing it all that well.
There are a couple scenes where he's, getting drowned in the ice pool, and there's a scene where he gets knocked into a what do you call it, concession stand, or a what do you call those, like carnival game stands?
I mean, but that's like your garden variety way to
it's not the best part.
It's just like with the Ferris wheel. I thought you could have like fucking hit him with it or something. I also thought like for sure they were gonna do a thing, Freddy. Oh, hey guys who bullied me, and then just like let him fall and then catch him or something.
Well, he gives them the wedgie. What do they call it?
Yeah, whatever, lawnmower wedgie, whatever the fuck it's called.
Some sort of
Also, the scene with Billy's mom where you learn that she sucks. I thought they could have handled it differently. No, I'm kidding. It was fine.
I love that scene.
I like that because it was like a break from predictability. It's always, oh, she's dead. We loved her. It's like, no, she sucks.
She's right up. She's a bus stop away.
Yeah, and you know what? It's okay, Billy, because you have a new family.
Oof,
but I think the scene was missing that really could have driven it home. When she answers the door, it's like, Mom, just like pukes on him. What the fuck do you want? She's like pulling out syringes.
Oh god. But yeah, I like that scene, man.
She just has one syringe. Like, oh, there's some left. Hold on. just fucking falls back and faints.
Cuts back to Billy. He's already been gone for 5 minutes.
And she wakes up like an hour, like 10 hours later. Yeah, what'd you want?
Did I dream that? No, I love that fucking scene because I'm like, all right, this is how I know this movie's like got its head on its shoulders. That one line where he goes, he gives it a fucking compass and he's like, "You need this more than me." I'm like,
yeah, I thought that was one of the
Mom.
It's one of those good lines.
I like that.
I like a good line. What's the word? Accompanying a MacGuffin.
Yeah,
for sure. This more than I do.
God, yeah, fucking Mom. The meatloaf. God damn it.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. In closing, do you have any other thoughts, or are you ready to close out?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much ready to go. So I'm gonna score this just because lack of inventive action was a problem for me. I'm gonna score this 3.5 out of 5.
I'm not too much further ahead of you, actually. Again, as much as I loved Zach Levi and the performances and the humor was really good and the heart was like great, I'd say this is kind of like one of the more emotionally like impactful movies since like Man of Steel. Like it's probably this, Wonder Woman, and then Man of Steel.
Eek.
I mean,
I'm just saying, them's is fighting words, as we are the only two human beings apparently on Earth who really liked Man of Steel.
Well, yeah, of course. But I would say beyond that, there are some definite problems with the lack of actions there, but also, I think tonally speaking, this movie could have had a couple of polishes.
Yeah, a little
with the
bit.
Script with some scenes. But I'm super down for whatever's the future for this character. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm probably going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5.
So not much further ahead of you.
All right, so that'll do it. Except for the fact that what the fuck was up with that caterpillar?
Oh, Mr. Mind?
Oh, is that who that is?
He's a character. I'm like, oh shit, here comes The Rock with that.
Oh, I was fucking so pissed. I was like, this better be The Rock.
But it wasn't.
Excite me, Hollywood. Really, really surprised me. Nope, psych.
Did you
can't have two surprises?
Did you
I
stay
got greedy?
Did you stay for both post credit scenes?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because
there's one that's like in a TV spot.
Which one?
The Aquaman thing.
I didn't see that.
Oh.
I didn't even know. I thought there was just gonna be the Mr. Mind one, and I almost got up to leave, and then I turned to my right.
What's the other one?
The Aquaman one.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, I better stay. And it was funny. They're good post credit scenes, but if you don't know what the fuck Mr. Mind is,
I was very who the fuck is he?
He's just a villain that teams up with Savannah later.
Oh. Okay.
Well, I was expecting Black Adam. I was like, oh, here we fucking go. Dwayne.
I was so ready, but I'm like, you know what? They already surprised me once with the Shazam lead. They're not going to surprise me twice. Not possible.
Yeah, they almost did it 3 times with Henry Cavill, but it wasn't Henry Cavill.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, my fucking gosh. But, I was like, they're not going to show him.
I thought it was funny.
It's funny. Way. I'm like, they worked around the dispute. We'll show him from the neck cut off. Funny.
Yeah.
It was good, though. I liked it.
Yo, Mr. Banjo in the next one, or get the fuck out.
I want that Santa back, man. I want that cussing Santa back.
Yeah, that guy was pretty funny. So that'll do it for our review of Billy Batson and the Shazam League.